So we basically are taking you on a cultural musical tour of our culture. And then we have some very important messages from two dynamic minds. Sister Pat, Dr. Patricia Newton, and she also is she is a Queen Mother from Ghana, West Africa. And she is going to share some very important things. She is a psychiatrist, and she's also the president of Black Psychiatrists of America. And she's been with us, and we're very excited. And then, of course, the great brother, Dr. Umar Johnson, is going to share some very important message with you. So we're very excited about today. Without any further ado, I'd like to introduce Brother Amoa Opari and Akoko Nante Ensemble. Give them a well-deserved round of applause.
Harunye, Harunye Marunya, Harunye, Harunye Marunya. Harunye Marunya. Harunye, Harunye, Harunye Marunya. Harunye, Harunye Marunya. Harunye, Harunye Marunya. Harunye,
For sure. All right, good people. Are we loose? I mean, we meaning like us. Are we loose? Okay, because I feel a little tight. Are we tight or we loose? Which one is better, be the tight or loose? We got to be loose so we can get tight. All right, here we go. Because here we go. It starts right now. I felt like we were just performing for them. They was watching us, but they don't. Oh, we didn't tell them this is not that type of show. No. Okay.
Wait a minute.
Later. Okay, we're not going to tell them now. Okay.
Nana fume, yeah, yeah, aye. Thank you. Join the band. I mean, you're not gonna get paid or nothing. But like, you know, maybe you could like put on your resume. Like one time I performed with that girl, it was like, yeah. So you have to repeat after me. If I say Che Kool-Aid, you have to say Che Kool-Aid. If I say Guayede, say Guayede. Okay?
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
Okay.
Let's go. Turn up.
Y'all supposed to, that's y'all turn now. Now it's y'all turn. Y'all supposed to say that.
It's your turn.
That's like we had an agreement before. Nobody? This is the right.
I want to introduce you to Sister, and her proper name is Nana Dr. Akosa Achai, and she's also known as Dr. Patricia Newton. She's an MD, she's a psychiatrist, and she's presently the president and medical director of Newton and Associates. Am I correct? Specialist in psychiatry and behavioral medicine. She is a board-certified psychiatrist, neurological, with specialty boards in administrative psychiatry. In addition to working with St. John's Hopkins School of Medicine and Johns Hopkins School of Public Health, she's also a past examiner of American Board of Psychiatry. She's a chairperson of the Department of Psychology at the former Providence Hospital in Baltimore, Maryland. She's a graduate of Washington University, the School of Medicine in St. Louis, Missouri, where she served as faculty after residency training at the Barnes Hospital Group before relocating to Baltimore. She holds her, and this is all her thing. She is a highly respected and revered professional. She's also someone, how many of you are familiar with the great Frances Cress Welsing? Raise your hand. Give it up, because she is a very esteemed ancestor, and she was influenced by Dr. Frances Cress Welsing. And when I see Sister, and she tells a story about her meeting with Dr. Welsing, which I'm not going to say right now, but she's going to say it herself. But she is the embodiment of that commitment to our culture, commitment to us. And I just want you to be really familiar with. For some of you, this may have been the first time that you've heard of Sister, but this certainly should not be the last time. And I certainly would like to, without further ado, introduce you to Dr. Nana Akosa Achai, also known as Dr. Patricia Newton. Welcome her with a round of applause. Thank you so much. Let's give it up. Stand up. We have to. It's so important. Thank you so much for coming, Sister.
Well,
okay.
I'm always honored to come back to New York. And I'm always honored to be asked to present for your pre-Kwanzaa and to, that's better, isn't it? Yes or no? Oh, okay, I want to make sure. And when she asked me to do a presentation for our people, I couldn't think of anything better than to talk about our relationship with 45. You all know who I'm talking about, right? Just want to make sure. And so when we talk about that, before we do that, I want to tell you that I also do tours to Africa, all over the continent, and there are a couple up there. I will have cards and tapes and things to sell after we finish, so I just want to put that up there as a matter of non-formal advertisement, okay? Okay. Of course, I'm dedicating this to Dr. Welsing. And for those of you who have heard me speak before, you know the relationship that I had. But for those of you who do not, I was on my way to becoming a surgeon and ended up meeting Dr. Welsing in her office at Howard University. I was a senior in medical school doing an elective. And when I left her office, she said, "I know we're going to see you in psychiatry, my dear." I said, "Oh, no. I'm on my way to be a surgeon. I'm not going to be a shrink." And she said, "Oh, no, you are a thinker, not a cutter." And then the rest is history. But what you don't know is that when she was under stress and duress, and they were attempting to steal her home through the whole gerrymandering process in Washington, D.C., and she was very stressed out by that process because they were every day attempting to steal her property from her, and had gotten some notices from the city government of D.C. that they was to build this barrier for sound because some people bought a school. The Jewish people bought a school next to her house and attempted to buy her property, and when she wouldn't sell, began noise pollution. And as a result, she was very stressed out, developed cardiac arrhythmia, and also developed a severe depression. And I received a call one day from her, and she said, Pat, I want to come and see you. I thought she was just coming to pay me a visit. And she came, she said, I want to be your patient. And I'm like, what? What are you saying? You're the reason I became a psychiatrist. Why in the world do you want to be my patient? She said, because I trust no one but you. I know who you are, I know what you are, and I will put myself in your hands. And I was just, can you imagine what kind of honor that is to have somebody, first of all, as great as she was, but secondly, someone who is the reason that you became a psychiatric physician in the first place, to come and put their lives in your hand. I didn't know if I could handle it or not, but I felt an obligation to do it, and I'm so grateful for the relationship that I had with Dr. Welsing for well over 40 years. So I would be remiss not doing this for her. Now, if you were here last year, you saw me have this slide up. But I think I need to always remind people. This was written by Mencken in the Baltimore Sun, Evening Sun, in 1920. And could you all read it together? Prediction that is profound, don't you think? In 1920, so the people will reach their heart's desire, and the White House will be occupied by a downright fool and a complete narcissistic moron. I rest my case. And so part of the issue of looking at the dynamics that we have is what I call the tale of 45. You all are familiar with the whole series of the tales. And so here's my take. A white man is a pedophile. Defend him. This is the process. A black man does not thank the president. Condemn him. White hurricane victims, help them. Puerto Ricans don't have electricity, ignore them. Rich white men want a tax cut, do it. Black Haitians need help, evict them. These are the tales of 45. This is the dynamic that you find yourself in as it relates to how we're going to survive and thrive in this administration. And by the way, as you know, the Senate approved that tax bill, right? And does anybody have any idea what that means for us? Can you all tell me? Don't be shy. What does it mean? This is New York. I know y'all talk loud, so what? It means what? Right. And so only the rich and the wealthy will benefit from this tax cut. Did y'all hear what he said? Y'all are aware of that, right? No, a lot of people are not. And so when we look at this, remember now, this is Dr. Frances Welsing's philosophy. She said that we are all under siege and under attack in many areas. The first of all being economics. There we go. The second, education. You know how bad our schools are. The entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. These were the 9 areas of people activities that she believes and still is manifest that we are at war with the enemies. And as such, none of these areas have been affected and hurt more from any group than our group. And so can you think of any other area that would be affected by the Europeans other than these 9 areas of people activities? Well, all of that's tied up because the family is the overriding arch. These are the systems that affect our family. These are the systems that affect our culture. These are the systems that will destroy us or make us. Are you all with me? Okay. So I was reminded of this billboard that I saw. I forget which city it was now. It says, "Slaves, obey thy master." And that is to make America great again, right? Excuse me? What do you think is meant by make America great? Excuse me? I can't hear you. I cannot hear you. Return us to slavery, and what else? What else? Yes, and what else? What? White privilege, absolutely. White privilege, white privilege. And I'm reminded of what Lyndon Baines Johnson said. If you can convince the lowest white man he is better than the best colored man, he won't notice you picking his pocket. Hell, give him somebody to look down on, he'll empty his pockets for you. This is what's happening. This is what poor white people don't get. The rich get it because they're going to benefit. But they don't get it because the creation of the dynamic of a dyad where you put black against white, young against old, men against women, is to be able to separate you from your money and have you be willing to give it up. At the end of the day, it's all about the money. Because we are indeed what? The threat. Black and brown people are the threat because if you look at the dynamics of the world, people in the United States of America are the most educated people of color collectively in the world. Am I right? So if we can be suppressed and we can be controlled, we don't have to worry about the rest of the diaspora. And nor do we have to worry about the continent. So did you all know that Lyndon Baines Johnson had said that? Interesting. President of the United States. And so as a result of what is happening, we have to ask, how are the children? Because at the end of the day, all of this that we're doing is for what? The children. Some of y'all are too old to make a difference. And even if you could, you wouldn't. So some of y'all just going to have to die and get on out the way so the rest of these people can go on and be about the business of doing business. And no, I'm not advocating murder. I'm just advocating that you make room for the folk who are going to be progressive. And so as a result of this racism and all this control dynamics, we have to begin to work on the children because I have to make sure that the next generation of children don't know who they are, don't know what they're about, and can be controlled and manipulated to benefit as the whole process of enslavement was done. You with me? And so what happens to our school children? They're more likely to be given harsher discipline than white children in school. And girls, 6 times more often, and boys, 3 times more often are suspended. And we can come back to that. 25% are more likely to be suspended, especially if they have disabilities. The ADHDs, the other kinds of things, they're going to get it. And more likely to be perceived as older. And when matched against white children, therefore, they're more likely to be held responsible. So if a child is 5 as black and white, they're going to look at the white child as 5 and the black child as 8. This is very important for you to understand, which is why we have to begin to look at what this whole school-to-prison pipeline is about. And so racism and trauma, which we all are victims of, has an effect on the brain. And we have to start with the various areas of the brain, and it causes us to do dumb stuff. You know, we disrespect our elders. We don't understand who we are. And these areas of the brain have to be affected very early so that then it becomes incorporated into the central nervous system. Are y'all following me? Okay, into the central nervous system. So, and in the amygdala area, which is right for all your emotions, children then begin to go, what you looking at me for? You disrespected me because you looking at me hard. And we began to incorporate negative types of behaviors that then affect our community in other ways. Now, the earlier you start to imprint in the brain, the more likely you are to be successful. So that is why it is important for your oppressors to begin at the school-age population to change the neurological structure and the neural activity of your children's brains. Are you following me now? Because this has an impact upon the kinds of behaviors that will lead themselves to helping us support the prison industrial complex. And if it doesn't, we will create an environmental scenario to layer on top of this to guarantee that we have neo-slavery and neo-colonialism. Are you with me now? This making any sense? And so what has happened? We have developed what I call viruses of the mind. And as a result of the traumatic impact of these behaviors, we have acquired a set of behaviors and adapted a set of behaviors that are negativistic to our own well-being. And so we have become experts in dying, in death, and in destruction. And what you do the most of, you will become an expert at, right or wrong. And so if I can't get you to kill yourself, I'll create an environment that is toxic to you so that it'll take care of itself. But many of us can never accuse our oppressors because we are a product of contributory negligence. Do you know what I mean by contributory negligence? It means that we accept the kinds of stuff that we've been given, and we begin to do the kinds of behaviors that get back to this, to destruction. And so therefore, I can't accuse the Europeans of creating the environment or creating the stimulus by which we self-destruct, because we're the ones doing it. We're the ones doing it because we've acquired those set of behaviors to such a degree that has now infected us to create an anomaly within our mental system that will cause us to do things that are against our own well-being. Do you follow me now? Okay, good. Because let me know if I'm getting too far. And so when we do that and we begin to create that scenario and you begin to have those behaviors, then what happens is you have intergenerational transfer. Are you following me on that? That means you transfer those kinds of behaviors to your yet unborn. And they begin to accept that that is a way of life. And we now know through science and DNA, which is why you're not supposed to be in the sciences, and you're not supposed to be in the math, because you're not supposed to think. You're supposed to only regurgitate, and regurgitate misinformation. Oh, excuse me, alternative facts. You're supposed to regurgitate alternative facts. And we now know that it's not just the female. You see, in medicine and science, we now know that it's not just the female if she's traumatized that transfers that in utero to the child. We now have the support and data that shows that men who are traumatized, it causes an alteration in their RNA, which is replicated from the DNA, and it gets transferred to the child as well. You with me now? Because what this means is a setup to guarantee that you are no longer able to understand and psychologically and sociologically and sociopolitically protect yourself. In other words, you're being dumbed down. And when you're dumbed down, you can't do what you need to do. And so these areas of the brain, you didn't know you were coming for a neurological lesson, did you? I know you didn't think so. You thought we were going to come and talk all this little politics and all this little stuff. You got to know what is happening in your brain and know how it is that you're being limited in your inability to take care of yourself. So the amygdala. The amygdala is that part of the limbic system of the brain where a lot of emotion resides. And so I want to make sure that I keep that thing overstimulated so that I can guarantee, one, a disruption in your hormones. So when I keep you upset and stressed out, then what am I going to do? I'm going to create anxiety. I'm going to create depression. I'm going to change your dopamine system, the system where you have the old fight-flight mechanism. I'm going to put you on hyper alertness, okay? And that system is not supposed to be 24/7 like the way you live. It's supposed to be only in times of danger. Well, we in danger 24/7. So constantly what happens is that you misfire the connections within that amygdala and that limbic system, and so you end up with elevations of what we call hormones that we call catecholamines that raise your blood pressure. Even when you're eating right, even when you're slim, even when you are taking your medicine, sometimes it's not going to be in control because you've got other external factors that have been created that in this environment that may even be passed on to your children. Are you following me now? Then, in addition to this amygdala system, oh, I'm so honored. How do you do, Dr. J? Dr. Leonard Jeffries has just entered the room. Wonderful. Thank you so much. And Dr. Rosalind Jeffries, hello. I'm so honored. Thank you. And so when that happens, then you also get another compensatory change. And that change is that your cortisol levels in your brain start to change. And what does that do? That changes your blood sugar level. And it becomes an issue for diabetes in people of color, brown and black people who have been traumatized over and over and over again, so that you dysregulate. You dysregulate the systems that control your blood pressure. You dysregulate the systems that control your blood sugar. And this is the things that affect our people more than anything. Are you with me now? Because so sometimes even when you're doing the right thing, eating the right thing, you're not dealing with the stress. Because you're living it every day and it's making a change, permanently altering the compensatory networks in your brain that then can get transmitted through the RNA of the male and the DNA of the female to your children. Are you with me now? And so you set them up already for illness, for inappropriate kinds of responses to stress, because a human being is not supposed to be living the way we live 24/7. Right? Y'all so quiet. Nobody's experiencing none of this here in New York. Lord help me. And so when the trauma continues, what we develop in the brain is that those stress hormones, those two things that I just discussed, are stress hormones. They get dysregulated. That means they get to malfunction. And when they malfunction, we develop what I call neural cement. Write it down. Neural cement. And that's where you stop being able to protect yourself. In other words, you begin to look for the mechanisms that you have acquired to cope, but they get stuck. And what happens in the brain is they get stuck back in the level where that amygdala is, or the emotion is. They get repetition in the cerebellum of the brain, or in a place in the brain called the red nucleus. Oh, you're getting a lot of neuroscience and neuroanatomy today. And in the red nucleus, and then it's layered like an onion. And then it becomes so that you cannot move survival from the back of your brain to the frontal cortex, which is the CEO of the brain. In other words, it makes the decisions for how you survive. You following me now? So what stress will do over time, and look at what it has done over generations, created an environment where people are not even able to protect themselves. They do the things that they know are harmful to themselves because they've been habituated. And the habituation occurs at another level of the brain. And so you end up looking at what your oppressors do, and you have another portion of the brain called mirror neurons, where you actually reflect back what you see. Y'all quiet? Is it making any sense? And so what happens is that your traumatic memories are often not accessible. So you're doing dumb stuff and you don't even know why, because you don't remember. And it may not have been during your lifetime. It may have been during one of your ancestors' lifetime. Are y'all following me now? So that we have created an environment, a society of African people globally, not just in Queens, globally, that don't know how to take care of themselves, that still depend on their oppressors for survival, that still keep begging to be alive. Will you please help me, Mr. Chuck? Because I can't do this by myself. Y'all are so quiet. Y'all are amazing. And so what has happened as a result of that kind of stuff, we have people who have diagnosable mental illness, and then we had the rest of y'all who's sick and don't know it. Are y'all following me? And so what happens is that we have in America about 6.8 million people with a diagnosable mental illness. And the rest of the folk who walking around here semi-comatose and don't even have a clue that they're sick and that their behaviors are ill. And so when we look at what has happened, this is a CAT scan of the brain, and what I wanted to show you is that the post-traumatic stress that we have endured and the injuries that we have endured are not sociological and political opinions. They are real, and they have caused permanent impact. And look at here. What you see is the lighting up of a normal aspect of the brain. And what you see here is a diminution. And so what trauma does over time is that it causes the connections between your brains, your neurons within your brain to not fire appropriately. In other words, they don't communicate. Your neurons in your brain are not communicating with each other appropriately. Is this making any sense? Because some of the stuff we do has no logical explanation, right? So you got to understand that what is happening to you is beyond just logic. It is becoming now a neurobiological as well as a neurochemical and a neurosociological phenomenon. Y'all are too quiet for this. Are y'all just thinking? Because you don't hear this. Nobody's going to talk to you about this. They're going to tell you some other okey-doke stuff. And then you're going to fall for the okey-doke. And all these political things that you see going on are diversions to stop you from understanding the real deal is to take you out of here, not necessarily physically kill you, although in some instances that's true, but to also have you so that you are unable to do what organisms do, and that is what? Help you survive. You're not surviving. We're not even thriving. And we're not thriving because we don't understand the damage and we don't understand the trauma that has gone to us. Racism makes you sick. And not only does it make you sick at a mental and emotional level, we also know there are physiological changes that occur in the body. We know that people who have been, like I say, traumatized by race, like I said, have more high blood pressure, have more diabetes, also have more irritable bowel syndrome, have a lot of physical conditions that are the direct result of having been traumatized. And it's not a theory. This ain't no theory, y'all. This is a fact. And remember now, truth is whatever you believe it is. And fact is what it is regardless of what you believe. And these are the facts, that we have aberrant health conditions because of this. I'm reminded of what Ralph Waldo Emerson said. He said, in the natural order of things, nature has made up her mind that what cannot defend itself will not be defended. Understand that in the context of what I just said. We are getting to the place where we no longer can defend ourselves. Therefore, the natural order of things is to take us out. Take us out as a collective. Because if you cannot defend yourself, then you are no purpose to the species. Am I right or wrong? Does that make sense or not sense? If it makes no sense to you, then you're already affected and don't know it. And so what we have to do with our people, so far we got to reclaim our right mind. We are out of our mind, and we're not out of our mind from a psychological sense. We're out of our mind from a neurobiological sense. And every day that we live in these toxic environments, and even these toxic people, you know, that we're affected. You know, I'm reminded of the saying that everybody lights up a room. Some folks when they enter it, others when they leave. And so a lot of the people we hang out with are the people who light up the room when they leave. A lot of people you hang out with, a lot of people you sleep with are toxic. That's not happening here, and that's not in Jamaica. But the rest of the United States, it is happening. And we have to remember that toxicity comes in many forms, sometimes in the people that we think we love. And so what we have is this whole issue of how do we survive. We got a problem, melanin and money. We got a real problem because we waste money. We have high credit card debt. We throw money away because what the institution of the enslavement process did was make us buy into the myth that things will make us worthwhile. And so we become the great consumers of the world, and everybody knows that. We don't manufacture anything. We don't create jobs for our own people. We go to our enemy and beg them to educate our children and then beg them to give us a job. By psychiatric standards, that's insane. That's insane. And some of you may have heard me tell this story before. I used to treat the pilot for the Shah of Iran. I used to treat his family. And when the Shah was deposed, they came to America and they had an Oriental rug store. And I treated the family, and they would fly me to Texas or wherever I needed to be, when they needed to be treated, and I wasn't beyond taking that money to go. And so one day, Mr. Amiri said to me, he said, Dr. Newton, I have a question to ask you. So, the first thing a black person does when somebody says that to them is we get ready to get on guard, right? He said, your people, and then you're on guard. But when he got ready to say your people, I put my hand on my hip. My neck was getting ready to start moving because I know I'm getting ready to do battle with this sucker, even though he's from Iran, okay? And he said to me, I don't understand your people. I said, what are you talking about? He said, why do you send your children to be educated by your enemies and expect them to come back and have nothing but contempt for you? Well, the hand went down off the hip, the neck straightened up, and I had no answer. And I had to drop my head in shame. And then he went on further to say, because no self-respecting Muslim would ever allow a Jew to take care of their children. And I'm not saying that to talk about religion, and I'm not castigating one group or another. I'm quoting what he said because of the symbolism. Are you following me? Because we have some communities where the predominant students are African or of African descent or Latino or something else, and all the teachers are European who have no cultural competency to take care of your children that help feed that school-to-prison pipeline, that help get them suspended, that help keep them thinking that they're older than what they are and penalizing them and disrupting their mentality and losing their self-esteem and self-confidence. That make it difficult for them to learn so that they don't want to learn. and then because they're being bullied and other things in school, even by the teachers. You know what I'm saying? Are you all with me? And we willy-nilly just send our children there and have it be okay? What is wrong with you? What is wrong with us? And his statement to me still rings. I mean, that was 20 years, 20-some, 30 years ago maybe. But it's still like yesterday when he said, why would you send your children to your enemies to be educated? Well, we can't do no better. We live in these, you can always do better. And believe me, if there is something that is designated as a problem, it has a what? Solution. It cannot be a problem without an answer. It is just a given. And so what has happened is that because we've been traumatized, we've been willing to accept whatever has been thrown on us and keep electing officials, even African ones, even black ones, keep electing the same ones who keep doing us in and keep setting us up for 30 pieces of silver. Because we've been traumatized. And we're in neural cement. And we're not doing the things that we need to do to take care of ourselves. Am I connecting the dots now? Okay. So the first thing we got to do is we got to get out of debt. Well, how do you get out of debt? You make a plan. You make a plan. You have to plan to do it. It may take you 5, 10 years, but you have to get out of debt. And in the context of getting out of debt, you have to also begin to save. And you have to teach your children how to save. And those of you who are very active in church, you better tithe to yourself first and then tithe to church. I have nothing against supporting your faith-based institutions. I have something against supporting them to the exclusion of your own families. I have something against that because that is what I call neural cement. That is getting you stuck in a position where you cannot help yourself. If you help yourself, you can help your churches, your schools, you can help any institution. We have not looked at what it means to understand money. We have not looked at ownership issues. We have not looked at creating employment opportunities. But we don't have, but we can work together. I've told this story, and some of you may have heard me before. I was treating a number of women with children on what you would call welfare. I hate to put it like that, but and they were talking about how all the things that their kids go to school and get at the other schools and everything, and how they don't have them in their community. I'm looking at my sisters. They got nails done up to the hee-haw. They got shoes, tennis on that cost more than my car payment for the month, okay? And they talking to me about being broke and poor. I'm like, where are your priorities? Your priorities are to get your nails done, but not to put $5 or $1 a week back in a joint fund that you all can create and then compound the interest and get your children whatever it is that they need. It's a mindset. And the mindset is because you're stuck in neural cement, you can't think outside of that box that you've been delivered to. I had these women take $1 a week. It was 30 of them. Take $1 a week. Put it into a fund. This is a psychotherapy group of women that was sent to me by the court because they were found to be, negligent, whatever stuff they say. So they were forced to come. They didn't really want to come and talk to me. They were just forced. And I said, well, in the process of being forced, let's talk about how you can get out of this hole that you have dug yourself into. And I want you to take $1 a week, this dollar that you're spending for your latte, well, it costs more than $1 now, and put them in a fund. That fund will be compounded in interest. You have to sign this statement that you are not going to touch this money for 2 years. At the end of those 2 years, they had enough money to take their children to the Smithsonian, to the museums, and do all the things that they were alleging that the white schools did, but their kids' schools, the children's school in the hood did not do. It's a matter of where are our priorities. Our priorities have been altered because we have associated our self-worth with consumerism. and the possession of things, which is part of your own pathology not surviving. We don't understand the symbols. Look at this. This is the Starbucks. They've taken your African symbols from the Yoruba goddess Imija. But you didn't know that, did you? This is purely Starbucks. That's Starbucks symbol, and that's the goddess in Yoruba. Everybody knows stuff about you but you. Dr. Clark, John Henry Clark used to say, we're the best kept secret in the world, especially from ourselves. But how come it is that everybody knows these things and we don't know? I'll give you an example. I was in France, in the south of France, in a place called Biarritz, for a meeting. I'm the only person of color at this meeting. So all of a sudden, this French guy comes up to me, and he says, bonjour, and I said, bonjour. He said, who are you? I said, excuse me? Who are you? You like, he said, no, I don't mean it like that. I was wearing Ogun beads as a protection. And he said, you are Ogun's daughter? And I'm looking at this white boy going, what you know about Ogun? He opens up his shirt, pulls out his beads. He said, I am Ogun's son. I am your brother. I'm like, oh, mercy. I said, oh, gee, Jesus help me now, for real. and he said, I have more in common with you than I have anyone else in this room. And he proceeds to tell me about the African deities of the Yoruba religion, and I am floored. And I'm like, how many of my people know anything about anything? They don't even know nothing about Christianity, even though they claim to be Christian. They don't know anything about anything, but he proceeds to give me my lesson in African history. And I'm like, wow. And so what am I saying? I'm saying that people use our symbols to make money. But we don't know anything about it. They got the bling bling with all the African images. And everybody is making money off of us except us, just like it was in slavery. It's nothing changed. Same position, different day. Or as the people say, SOS. And what about the way we do our women? Dr. Clark made a statement, and I love this. He said it was an African woman. It was in Africa that the woman rode at the head of her army. It was in Africa that the woman headed a state for the first time. It was in Africa that a woman became a god for the first time. And you get hung up with white women's lib that doesn't have a damn thing to do with you at all. That's Dr. Clark. Peace be unto him. And I'm saying all that to say, we as African women, maybe we have been suppressed, but we also do a lot of our own suppression. I know, don't get me wrong, don't hear me wrong, because sometimes when our sisters want to step out and do things, we're the ones that discourage them. You ain't gonna do nothing but get hurt. Don't go out there and do that. People are gonna get hurt. Well, let me say this to you. A ship is safe at harbor, but that's not what ships are built for. They're supposed to sail, and you're supposed to allow any child, and any male or female child, you're supposed to be there as an elder to support them, not to destroy them, not to give up their hopes and their aspirations because you're afraid for them. I understand fear. We've been inculcated, and through intergenerational transmission, we've been taught to be afraid. Now, we'll cuss each other out and do anything to each other, but let a white person walk by. Get all straightened up, be the best that you can be, which is a symbol of the disrespect that we have for ourselves and our persons and for the creation of for us as a divine creation. We got to understand who we are, and we got to understand who the real terrorists are. I don't need to explain this slide to you. Y'all got it. Moving right along. I live in Baltimore. I work in D.C. We had, at the time of Freddie Gray, everybody was African American. The judge, the mayor, the prosecuting attorney, and the president. And he still couldn't get a fair trial. So what am I saying? Just because we elect them and just because they're a person of color doesn't mean that they deserve to be in those positions. And you people, me, you, all of us have begun to hold anybody that we vote for and pay taxes for accountable. We have to hold them accountable. You know, Claude Anderson said something, and you were there, Dr. Jeffries. Claude Anderson said something that was very profound. He said, we need a third political party, and it should support no candidate. It should support an agenda. And we go to every candidate and say, this is our agenda as people of color. Do it or you don't get delivered the vote. We don't care whether you're Democrat, Republican, none, fine, none. But we have never looked at that. We're so busy trying to get some status in the Democratic Party or the Republican Party, none of which were created for us. I like his idea. Form your own political party. And it needs to start with your local elections. Don't be worried about a presidential election. Decisions about your life are not made at the White House. They are made right here in these boroughs. And if you don't understand that, then you're part of that, what? Neural cement. Because it's important for us to get control, and I don't care whether they're purple, they're green, they're white or black. If they're not going to deliver, or brown or yellow or whatever, if they're not going to deliver an agenda that is important for our survival, they shouldn't be there. And you shouldn't keep voting for them. And you shouldn't pay taxes for them either. I'm just saying. I mean, like I say, I'm getting on a plane, and I don't have to, deal with it. But I'm just suggesting that in this city, as well as other cities, that we stop thinking that we're going to be given a break because somebody looks like us. Y'all don't think that? Okay, I'm good. The other issue is that we have to be, as people for survival, we talk about surviving and thriving in the era of 45. We have to look at pollution. And we have to make sure we advocate. It's not a European thing because people want to put toxic dumps and build houses for us. They don't want to give us no loans, but they'll build houses for us to put us in a toxic dump. We have to deal with all of these things. So we have to become more concerned not only about the environment, but, if you look at all these electrical wires and things like that where you have those plants and things, we see more leukemia in children because of where they live and all of that. We have to also look at, I had to put this up here, the kind of foods we eat. And this one is the Trump sandwich. And it's a sandwich. Can you read it? Okay. You got white bread full of bologna. Okay. And we got to look at, I'm putting that up there as a joke, but we have to be concerned about what we put inside of us. And we got to start reading these labels. I know we don't always have the money to do certain things, but the GMOs and things that are in these foods are killing us. Some of them are making us sterile, too, as a portion of population control as we, I'm almost done, so you don't have to tell me. You don't have to send me no note. I know I'm dealing, but through. I'm nearly through. I don't need it, and I'm not going to pay it any attention. I'm going to finish, okay? That's called power. No. But these are the areas that we have to deal with in terms of the sexual issues. I have a tape out there that's called Sexual Politics and Control of the African Mind. Listen, brothers and sisters, we have got to stop allowing our children to be victimized by sexual predators. We have got to stop that. Many of you may be victims, some of you may be perpetrators, but it is not going to help us as a people to grow and glow and manifest our own dignity for which the Creator made us here if we don't protect our children. That's critical. And I would be remiss as a psychiatrist and as a behaviorist to come up in here and talk about money and talk about the environment and not talk about how we have been neglectful in protecting our children. And if you got a problem that you got to be a pedophile, go and get some help. Because what you are doing is destroying a human being, destroying an essence that's created by the divine. And a people who do that are going to perish. Listen to me. The universe is unforgiving. The universe will kick your ass when you do the wrong thing. And we have been doing the wrong things because we have not protected our children. We allow them to be victimized by everything. And it's not right. And we can do better. And we have to do better, because if we don't do better, we're not going to be around. And if we are, we're still going to be locked up. So what are our options? Like I said, I'm almost done, so they ain't need that paper. We got to understand, people, we're at war. Do y'all understand that we are at a war and we're fighting for our lives? And you can see by what this Congress has done that you are not part of the agenda. And you are not relevant to the agenda. And how do you become relevant? By everybody in this room beginning to work together to save ourselves. Nobody's going to help us. Nobody should help us. We've got to rewire our neural networks so that we can get out of this neural cement. We got to develop a strategy. We don't even know what we're supposed to be doing. We can't get 10 people in this room to agree on what we ought to be doing over here in Jamaica, Queens, to help ourselves over the next year. We'll be fighting for jockeying for position for who Mr. Chuck is going to want to talk to first. Stupid. Oh, crazy. And so then we have to look at, as I said, insulate our children, understand our history. And I believe in a civic mental health. Listen to what I'm saying. We are all suffering from post-traumatic slavery disorder, all of us. Some of us have less of it than others, but we all got it. And it's been passed on down from one generation to the next. And we are manifesting the issues of that, and all the vicissitudes and things that we have within ourselves are sometimes compounded by our neural cement and our traumatic experiences, some of which are in our life, some of which have been compounded by our life, and some of which were created in the past. We got to stop that, people. We've got to begin to understand that while we may be walking wounded, we ain't dead yet. And because we ain't dead yet and we still standing, we have an obligation, a moral obligation, an ethical obligation, a parental obligation to stand up for something rather than keep falling for nothing. So what do we need to survive? You all have heard me say this before. These are the principles of our surviving. We need all of back up. We need all of these. We need a commitment. We're not committed to nothing but BS. We need clarity. You need to understand that it is a war. We need to have compassion for each other. The way we talk to each other, the way some mothers even talk to their children. It's disgraceful. You want to snatch somebody. I don't go to the market anymore when I know a lot of people going to be there, because I'm going to go to jail, because I'm getting ready to take somebody out. We have to have courage. We have to have a level of consciousness that says, me first. Everybody else takes care of their own first but us. We have too many mirror neurons that give us so much empathy that we will take care of our own enemies before we take care of our own children. Mercy. We need money. And how are we going to get money? You don't expect Chuck to give you money. Chuck don't even want you here. So he want money. That means we have to what? Collect. Cooperative economics is not a concept of Nguza Saba, just a Kwanzaa. It's for every day. And there has to be at least 10 people, even if they're in your family. You don't have to like them. You don't have to like them. See, we got a thing about we got to like you to do business with you. Screw you. We got to do business to survive. And that means if we can come together, if we can just create a family savings plan and make a commitment like I did with those ladies, you're not going to withdraw this money. You withdraw this money, we're going to take you out. Almost. Nah. And that we have to create manpower. We have to create skills. We have to look for the gaps. What does a society need? And then we have to fill those gaps, because people don't care whether you're white, blue, green, or yellow. If they need something and you can deliver it, they'll come to you. And we have to be willing to support our own businesses. We have to be making our churches more accountable. We have to see if we can create employment opportunities in our community. If you're in a church and you're viable in a church, then you should have some kind of apartment building that you own, some kind of stores and jobs that you're creating for the people to go to your parishioners. You want tithes? How you going to get tithes if nobody has any money? You understand what I'm saying? You got old people on fixed incomes giving to the church and can't even keep their lights on. That is crazy. And I'm qualified to call somebody crazy. So I'm just saying, you know. And we do all of this for what? We do it for our children. Because if we don't create and plant a seed for our children to grow and flourish in the next generation, then we have failed them. And when judgment comes upon us, we will be given a harsh reality. You know, there's an old saying that says, when the one great scorer comes to write your name, he doesn't ask whether you won or lost, but how well you played the game. And we're not playing it too well. And we need to do that, because if we don't do that, we got to help create an environment. And what this says, it says, relax, sir. We got to make America great again. But he has to be made great again, and we have to find him a new home. Him and his family have to have new federal housing. So if we're going to talk about survival, then we have to talk about all of these things. And I thank you very much for your time. Thank you all very much. I have all of these things on some tapes outside that I'll be having out there shortly. Do we have time for about 1 or 2 questions? No? He didn't come back, so y'all got questions? Yes, sir.
Hello, everybody. Do you think it's wise for us to continue to beat our children?
Be our children.
Yeah, like I grew up getting beatings instead of being talked to. Then I grew up handling problems physically than mentally.
Well, let me just say this. There never is all or nothing, and we know some people, a little hand psychology might work. But having said that, no, beating children, we're just doing a couple of questions. Beating children is not the way to train children. Everything is a teachable moment. I'll give you a classic example. I was in a grocery store, and this woman had a little, I guess she must have been about 4, and the little girl reached up and grabbed the grapes and started to eat one. Mother cursed her out right there in the store. And she was getting ready to hit the kid, and I reached and I had a third-degree black belt in karate, so don't let this little fat lady fool you, okay? I reached and grabbed her hand, and I said, ma'am, I know this is your child, but I'm going to tell you, if you hit that kid, I'm going to take you out right here. I said, because this is a teachable moment for your child. Rather than cursing this child, teaching a child the right lesson in the wrong way, you should use this and explain to her what people ownership is, what the color of the grape is. There are things that you could do with this moment, and the child will still learn the lesson without you calling her out of her name, lowering her self-esteem and self-worth. And when people whose self-esteem and self-worth are lowered, they will engage in behaviors that are self-destructive. We learned how to do punishment from slavery. We learned how to be ruthless and brutal and beating each other from how we were treated. And we have, through operant conditioning, been doing that and applying those behaviors. A lot of it is out of fear. I get it. We're afraid because back in the day, you could get killed. You could still get killed when you're doing nothing. So what we want to do is use corporal punishment less if at all, and we want to teach our children what is right and show them what is wrong, and so that you can learn not to be physically abusive. Corporal punishment does not work. And like I said, a little occasional hand psychology might do a little bit, but it's not enough. You understand what I'm saying by being brutal, by being profane, and by being hostile to our children. That does not teach us anything but violence that we saw. And that's a direct result of having been traumatized.
Do you think it's wise for Black people to spend all our money on designer labels?
I don't think I don't think it's practical. I don't think it's smart. And unless you put your own company together, all that is doing is keeping your oppressor rich and keeping you in debt and keeping you envious of other people who may have the means to do that. Now, I'm not saying if you cannot afford it, go get it. I mean, I'm not saying that. But most of us can't afford to live on designer labels, period. I don't care what kind of income level we're at. What we should be doing is creating an environment where we're making our own labels. Okay? Thank you all very much. I appreciate it.
Hand up. Come on. You know that, well, I insist. Hold on, Mama. Hold on. Thank you. You know, one of the things is, and I first of all admire and respect our dear sister because, you know, she comes from all the way. She travels the world. And anytime we've called her over the last few years, she's come. And the reason why I think it's so important that we think about what we do is because she focuses on supporting us and really bringing us to understanding ourselves and understanding what we do. And some things we do subconsciously that we don't understand are connected to our enslavement. So our sister is there to help reacquaint us with ourselves. Just, okay? And the same thing Dr. Umar is to re-familiarize us with ourselves. So again, I really want to sincerely thank our sister, Nana, I call her, for coming, for sharing, for giving. So again, let's give our sister, Dr. Patricia Newton, Dr. Okosa Achai, a well-deserved round of applause. We thank you so much, Mommy, for coming, for giving, for sharing. Okay, thank you so much.
You know, there's a saying that if we start our understanding of history from slavery, almost anything can seem as though it's progress. Let me say that one more time. If we start our understanding of our history from enslavement, almost anything can be made to appear as progress. That's why it's important for us to make sure that we understand that we take the time, make the time to show our children and to remind ourselves that slaves were not brought from Africa. No slaves were brought from Africa. African people were kidnapped and enslaved over here. African people were kidnapped and enslaved over here. In Africa, we were free. We were farmers and fishermen and hunters and healers, musicians, mathematicians, scientists, scribes, scholars, saints, sinners, teachers, and thieves. The whole range of the human experience was going on according to our various paradigms, but we were not slaves. Olaibo mansanya ninkalebo lailam simbo mansanya elaila olaibo mansanya ninkalebo lailam simbo mansanya elaila. Here is a song of kings and queens, the jelly plays while traveling. Listen close, this message brings Umoja Olaibo Mansanyan in Kalebo Lailam Sumbo Mansanyan Elailam. Dream of a journey truly grand, like Mount Samus across the sand. With thousands more they had a plan. Umojam Olaibo Mansanyan in Kalebo Lailam Sumbo Mansanya Elailam. Each one plays a part, you see, if we're to change reality. Umoja Olaibo Mansanyan in Kalebo Lailam Simbo Mansanya Elailam.
trouble the water. Oh, the water, the Atlantic, so we may sing a song filled with the faith that the dark past has taught us. Sing a song full of the hope that the present has brought us. Facing the rising sun, it's a brand new day, and it's just begun. Got to march on till victory is won. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me home. Swing low, sweet chariot, coming forth to carry me guide our hearts, lest they stray from the place, oh God, where we meet thee. Guide our hearts, drunk with the wine of the world, we forget thee. Facing the rising sun. It's a brand new day and it's just begun.
Imani Scott.
So guide us. Ever stand true to our God, true to our native
We are sons of the sun.
land.
That's it.
Africa, power to the people.
We are sons of the sun, daughters of the moon. Oceans and rivers reflect us. The wind is our voice, the breeze our whisper. Silence, even silence respects us. It is we who decided the day is divided into what's now understood as the hour. We built the Sphinx and pyramids as links to great ancestral power. We created mountains, the canyon's abyss. The falcon, our symbol of light, soars above high in the clouds where even darkness is bright. We charted the movements of planets and stars, employed them as yearly planners, labeled beast, mighty and small, studied their every manner. We are the elephant's blare, the lion's roar that fills the forest with wonder. We are the cascading sound of the Great Lake Falls, known as a house of thunder. Count the sand of Sahara, the drops of the Nile, the savannas of every blade of grass. Only then will you see the greatness achieved by those of Africa's past. Count the sand of Sahara, the drops of the Nile, the savannas, each and every blade of grass. Only then will you see the greatness achieved by those of Africa's past. We are Benda, Fulani, Hausa, Igbo, Wolof, Serer, Ga. We are Zulu, Manding, Ashanti, Dogon, Yoruba, Maasai, Twa. We are Benda, Fulani, Hausa, Igbo, Wolof, Serer, Ga. We are Zulu, Manding, Ashanti, Dogon, Yoruba, Maasai, Twa. Nunypo African. Nunypo African. Todos negros en el mundo son africanos. Todos negros en el mundo son africanos. We are Africans. We are Africans. We are Africans. Asante san. Can we have another round of applause for Imani Scott? So while we're on this vibe here, you know, there's been a lot of tweeting going on, and it was asked. The question came up when the brethren started taking knees on the football field, and folks started complaining about, you know, them Confederate statues and stuff like that. And so the tweeter in chief says, he says, well, they taking down, you know, they want to challenge statues of, you know, Robert E. Lee and Stonewall Jackson and them folks. Well, what next? Thomas Jefferson and George Washington? Yeah. Yeah, them too. See, the thing that we got to remember, more of us fought on the side of the British than fought on the side of the United States. Why? Because they gave us a better deal. They said anybody that fight on their side was automatically emancipated. Sounds like a good idea to me. More than 5-1. So one day I was on the subway, and I heard some people talking about America. Ain't no place like it. And I said, thank God. So this next tune that we're gonna do is called No Place Like It. And y'all got a part to play on this one, because, you know, we like to thank you. Can you give yourselves a round of applause, please? From Africa, this is a southern brother. From Africa by way to the South Bronx. Marimba Akwache Abu. From Africa by Red Bank, New Jersey, Red Bank, New Jersey, Red Bank, Count Basierville, Red Bank, New Jersey, on bass. Dr. William Dots. Yeah, that's right, there's a doctor in the house and he's playing bass. People ask us, why y'all call him the doctor? Because he puts a lot of healing feeling in everything he plays. On another African drum. Because a lot of people, when they look at the trap set, they don't realize that Africans here in what is now known as the United States put this configuration together. This is the African drum system. We as African people invented this here. So when we look at this and we see people playing this, it's important that we understand it. All right? So from Africa, by way of Nolans, my brother, who my mother didn't know she gave birth to, Sir Sean Brown. And from Africa, by way of Detroit, Michigan, My name is Atiba Kwabena Wilson. Thank you very much. So, this next tune is called No Place Like It. So there's a chorus line I'm gonna need y'all to help with. So when I point to you, you say no place like it. No place like it. No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Why, why, why in the world are they stealing my labor? No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Why, 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 why in the world do they try to enslave us? No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Why, why, why in the world do they try to enslave us? I've got nothing but a poem for you. Take a line, maybe take two. Might just help to ease your pain. Lord knows it's a crying shame. The richest nation on the planet Earth, with people so poor they don't know them worth. Excuses and reasons don't justify greed. Nothing can justify murderous deeds. No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Why, 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 why in the world are they stealing my labor? No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Why, why, why in the world do they try to enslave us? Yes, the Indian once ruled the land. Now you can almost count them on your hands. They were given lies on paper called treaties. They were given blankets filled with disease. Trapped on reservations they never called home. Slaughtered like the buffalo, they're not allowed to roam. It never fails when they make a few cents. The government tries to screw them all over again. No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Wow, 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 why in the world are they stealing my labor? No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Wow, 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 why in the world do they try to enslave us? I'm an African, that's easy to see. Some of my kinfolk still can't believe how we were raped, maimed, and displaced. Black bodies all over the place. 200 million killed in the slave trade. And it's a fact, no matter what they say, we built this country, did it for free. Unless you count all of the blood that we bleed. No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Wow, 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 why in the world are they stealing my labor? No, 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 not in the world. Thank God for small favors. Wow, 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 why in the world do they try to enslave us? you so very much. We'd like to thank everybody here, and can we have a round of applause for Sis Luis Dente for putting this together for us. Remember, it's time to sing our song. It's time to sing our song, our songs. You know, so many times we see movies, and too many times we've seen our version of somebody else's story. We have more than enough stories to tell about us. Let us start singing our songs. Let's tell our stories. Asante Sana, thank you very much.
All right, let's give it up for Brother Atiba Wilson and Biko Quartet. Excellent.
No place like it.
All right. So, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our brother. This brother, I remember him way back, and I'm so proud of the work he's doing around the country in terms of educating our people and bringing our people to understanding who they are. And he needs no introduction. Let's welcome our brother, Dr. Umar Johnson. Give it up. Brother Dr. Umar Johnson. Umar Johnson. Come on, brother Umar Johnson.
New York City, make some noise. Black Power, how's everybody doing? One love. Queens, Brooklyn, Harlem, Bronx, Manhattan, Staten Island, and the list goes on. Thank you, brothers and sisters, for coming out. It's good to be back in Jamaica, Queens. It's been a year. A lot has happened in that year. I have an hour, and I don't plan to waste any of it. A couple of months ago, I was invited to speak in Paris, France. And while I was in Paris, building with the brothers and sisters in Paris, I had got a news feed. Someone had sent me a link to an article that was done, which in essence stated that the FBI was now refocusing its attention upon what it coined black identity extremists. And that the FBI in the new year would begin to redouble its efforts towards fighting domestic terrorism at home. And what was so interesting and ironic about the black identity extremism article, to me, was the fact that I didn't know being proud to be who you are made you a terrorist. I've never heard of Jewish identity extremism. I've never heard of Chinese identity extremism. I've never heard of Arab or East Indian or Latino identity extremism. And most of all, I never heard of Anglo-Saxon identity extremism. So the fact that being proud to be African makes you a terrorist means hating to be African makes you American. And so one thing we have to focus on as African people is how we raise our children and with what ethos and zeitgeist we want to instill them with, because if cooning is the new norm, and being unapologetic is the new terrorism, according to their definition, we're going to have to make more intellectual terrorists. And when I say intellectual terrorism, brothers and sisters, I'm talking about raising African children with a mindset that works to the best interests of African people. See, there's something that we don't want to accept about these United States. And we've been here under Anglo-Saxon colonial rule for 398 years. But although we're 2 years short of 4 centuries, there's something that we as African people still don't want to admit. And that is that America will never allow black power to coexist with white power. In fact, black power existing with white power is a political contradiction. You can't have white supremacy with black progress. This is why Rosewood was destroyed. This is why Tulsa was destroyed. This is why Wilmington was destroyed, and so forth and so on. And the reason black people don't want to admit that America will never allow legitimate black power next door to white supremacy is because most of us, our options for true freedom do not extend beyond the borders of the United States. For most of us, we are psychologically and geographically landlocked to the territories of the United States. So you entertain no options of freedom, justice, or equality that supersedes the United States judicial system, which in my opinion makes you the most loyal American of them all. Because you're the only person in this country who calls themselves such, who don't have a psychological, cultural, or social connection to another place. See, an American is always preceded with a pronoun. Not a he or a she, but an Italian American, a Jewish American, a Chinese American, an Arab American, East Indian American, Jewish American. But then we come to you. And the average black person will simply say, I'm American. But if America...
Is that better? I thought
both of them for a minute. How's that? So if an American must always have a connection to another country because there was no America 400 years ago, not named as it is now, that means you must have a connection to some other place in time. So when a black person who is the most un-American of them all stands up and say, I am just an American, you are admitting to a stereotype in legacy of America, in America, that says you in fact have no past. You have no place of origin. You have no worthwhile history, spirituality, psychology, or sociology worthy of notice. So when you say I'm an American, that means you began right here under the white man. Because even for those Africans who were here before the white man, they didn't call themselves Americans. So why are you so motivated to identify with your oppressor? Black people are interesting because we're very neurotic about our psychological homelessness. We are extremely neurotic about our psychological homelessness. In fact, when you look at the Colin Kaepernick NFL protest situation, you saw this neurosis take center stage, where black athletes, out of fear of losing their quality of life or their narrating job on television, automatically sided with the power structure, not against their brother, but against you. Because Colin Kaepernick was taking a knee for us. So when Ray Lewis jumped up and said, and I can't condone this, and Shaquille O'Neal, the blackest thing on TV, pure Uganda mixed with Kenya. And the blackest thing on TV said, I can't condone the kneeling because my father was in the military. What does your father being in the military have to do at all with the unjustified murders of defenseless black folks? But this is what he said. And then Jalen Rose joined in. And Stephen A. Smith with that never-ending receding hairline, he joined in. I don't know why the brother just don't go bald. Stop trying to save it, brother. You look like a half eggshell crack. Cut it off. But brothers and sisters, the point that I'm trying to make is our neurosis about not being American leads many of us to adopt an attitude of extreme Americanism, to the point where we will say, I'm not American or African, I'm just a human being. And see, whenever you hear a black person say that, you know you're dealing with a 100% pure Negro. Ultimate coon stock. In fact, coon is the new black. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, yes, it is. Oh, coon is the new black. Yes, it is. To act like you don't know what black people have been through and are going through will earn you a seat at your oppressor's table. And see, our children are watching this because they're looking and they're studying and they're saying, black people who don't identify with black people do well in this society. Black people who don't speak up for black people do well in this society. Black people who identify with white folks, even though they're lying through their teeth, do exceptionally well in this society. And so then we got to look at ourselves as black parents and say, well, wait a minute, we play a role in this too. And let me tell you where we come in at. We have this culture of materialism that teaches black boys and girls to get paid by any means necessary. Oh, yes. Many of you are raising your children now to get paid. Many of you went to college not to help black folks, but to get paid. It's all about a bling bling. And so when a black boy is raised to believe that getting paid by any means necessary is the goal of life, cooning becomes easy. Because you were never raised to be loyal to your community. Let's be honest, black parents. I'm a psychologist and an educator. I know for a fact, because I'm not only in the school, I'm in your house too as a therapist. Very few of you raise your boys and girls to be loyal to black people. I know this to be a fact. You raise them to be loyal to Jesus. You raise them to be loyal to Muhammad, people they've never seen. You raise them to be loyal to Abraham. You raise them to be loyal to all types of black ancestors who they'll never meet. But you never raise them to be loyal to the black and brown folks they see every day of their lives. And when I say black and brown, I'm simply speaking of the different hues of African people. I'm not pulling in the Latino struggle or the Mexican struggle because the Mexican or the Latino never gave a damn about black folks. I want to be very clear about that. I want to be very clear about that. However, I am talking to my Afro-Latino brothers and sisters who identify with their race of origin. Because you can still be proud to be Cuban and Puerto Rican and still identify with your race. Because being African is greater than all that other stuff. And this is why in the philosophy of the Honorable Marcus Messiah Garvey, greatest black organizer of the modern era, Garvey said, you got to put your race first. He said, you're the only ones who don't do that. The European Jews in Brooklyn, the race is first. Chinese, the race is first. In fact, Chinese are so committed to having nothing but Chinese around them, even when they have a job opening at the stop and go, they put the help wanted sign in Chinese to make sure black folks don't even apply. You don't even know they hiring. Because everyone who comes to America to do what? Build a cultural empire. Culture is the weapon for the Chinese. Culture is the weapon for the Jew. Culture is the weapon for the Arab. Culture is the weapon for the East Indian. Culture is the weapon for the Anglo-Saxon. Culture is an enemy to black folks. Because you don't want to be what you are. And see, we can deduce this real simple, make it very elementary. Nothing changes for black folks until their attitude to each other changes first. You see? We could read all the books. We could take all the trips. We could master all the ideologies, and you will still be a self-hating Negro until you make a decision not to anymore. See, you still ain't ready to do no work yet. That's the problem with us. See, we have this new intellectual revolutionary thing going on where you don't even have to leave your living room to struggle. Watch a few videos, watch a few lectures, read a few books. I got my struggle on today. You ain't fed nobody, you ain't clothed nobody, you ain't built no institutions. You simply learned. You're a learned slave. And I have significant issues with the intellectual narcissism movement. Because in black America, we got an intellectual narcissism movement going on in our young black conscious community. Brothers and sisters under 40. Intellectual narcissism. You think you God's gift to black folks because you read one more book than the next brother. Y'all know what I'm talking about. Some of y'all guilty of intellectual narcissism. And the problem with intellectual narcissism is a narcissist considers himself so important that he ain't got time to get locked up for black folks. He considers himself so important, he ain't got time to get put on job probation for helping black folks. He's so special that I cannot march. I'm above that. I cannot build. I'm above that. I cannot organize. I'm above that. I'm so smart that all I should have to do is wake up, wash up, and teach the rest of y'all what to do. And the problem is we have so many intellectual narcissists who have an ego attached to the little bit of book knowledge they got. Okay? To the point that they no good for nobody. You're no good for nobody because you fail to recognize that the purpose of knowing is to use it. The purpose of knowing is to use it. What's the biggest difference between the black struggle today and 60 years ago amongst the youth? The biggest difference between us and H. Rap Brown, between us and Stokely, between us and Huey, between us and SNCC, between us and CORE, between us and the Freedom Riders, between us and the students at the various HBCUs who started the sit-in movement. You know what the difference is? The time you spent trying to learn everything, they spent trying to change everything. And the difference, brothers and sisters, the reason we ain't moving is we're no longer agents of change, we're agents of information. And if all the white man got to be concerned about is a couple book sales, if all he got to be concerned about is a few more YouTube channels, if all he got to be concerned about is a few more intellectual debates, he ain't got nothing to be concerned about at all. Because you confuse the ends with the means. Information is a means to an end. The end is liberation, but you made the information the end in and of itself, which means you're comfortable having nothing and being nowhere as long as you can say, I'm smarter than him. And that's the problem that we have. Racism is brilliant, though, and you have to give racism its credit. Because racism has convinced us that we're the reason we are where we be. White man is such a dishonest creature. I'm sure there's an exception of one or two, but you don't know them and neither do I. Because he'll tell you that the black man need to stay home and take care of his kids. And then he'll lock the black man up so he can't be home to take care of his kids. He'll tell the black woman, get off welfare and get a job. But he will only provide her with the most unlivable wage jobs available in New York City, where she makes so little of a fee she can even pay to keep the lights on. This is what he does. He says black kids dropping out of high school is a problem. But he won't talk about the white women who are at the core of why they drop out of high school. Oh, yes. He'll say, stop selling dope. But you take all the jobs out the community so the brother ain't got no choice but to sell the crack. This is how he operates. He'll say, why so many black boys going to jail? But he won't say nothing about the special education empire that set them up for mass incarceration. Oh, he's a wicked demon. He's a wicked demon. This is what he does, and he's convinced you to help push his false narrative of black failure. And guess what, New York City? The white liberals who you love so much, because the white conservatives put you in a condition, but the liberals exploit it for personal gain. Let me say it again. Let me say it again. Because the Democrat and the Republican, both of whom are white supremacists, work together to maintain your situation. So the conservative creates the inequity. The white conservative creates the bias. The white conservative creates discrimination. And then the white liberal comes in under the false disguise of helping black folks to exploit the failure that his brother created. Oh, he's a wicked demon. See, they don't treat the white poor like they treat the black poor. In the white poor community, they have something known as empowerment programs. White poor people get an opportunity to join Wall Street. White poor people get an opportunity to get a nice home. White poor people have programs that you never even heard of. See, the white people get empowerment programs. Black people get poverty programs. All of the programs in our community are designed to maintain the poverty, but to give you a much more comfortable existence underneath the poverty. And we can't see the difference. So when you come home from prison, they put you in a halfway house with a work program. And they give you a fake certificate saying that you've been trained on Microsoft, the first version. Are y'all following me? The first one with the 2,000-pound computer. And then you go and take your Microsoft cert to go get a job. You can't find one because he set it up to make sure your training is not useful. And then he said you're too lazy to find a job. Do you know how much money they make in New York City pimping black poverty? Over $1 billion a year in grants. $1 billion a year in feed the homeless. White liberals. $1 billion a year. Let's work with the teenage pregnancy black girls. $1 billion a year. Recidivism. $1 billion a year. Drug addiction. $1 billion a year. Battered women. $1 billion a year. Hungry black folks. And so they'll spend billions to finance your poverty, but not a dollar to end it. And this is why you're confused, because you're like, what is Dr. Umar talking about? Look at all the people they're serving. But you got to look at the end goal. When you're done with this poverty program, you are in a better position to do what exactly? Go right back to it in 3 weeks. I went to visit a friend of mine up in prison the other day. I took the 6-hour ride through the hills of Pennsylvania. And I hate going to prisons because nothing smacks of slavery as much as one of those prisons. And they had to buzz me in and they had to search me down and pat me down. And I walk in and there's a visiting room of black men visiting with their black children. A scene that you'll never see on CNN. Men crying to be reunited with their babies for the first time. And I'm bringing this up, brothers and sisters, because they got the audacity to say black men ain't around and don't want to be around when they the main reason. We ain't coming around. And then in the black community, our recidivism rate in prison is 85%. 85% of black men and women who've been to jail will go back within 3 years after their release. Not because they wanted to commit crime again, but there's no opportunities for them. Being a prisoner once is like being a prisoner your whole life. That record follows you for the rest of your life. And for those of you who don't have a record, you know how hard it can be to find a job as a black person. With a college degree, you know how hard it is to find a job as a black person. Imagine no degree and 1 felony on your record. And you know what's even worse? Half the brothers and sisters doing time because of that felony wasn't even guilty of it. They got plea bargained. That's right, plea bargained. Why? Because we ain't smart enough in Philadelphia. And we ain't smart enough in New York City. And we ain't smart enough in New Haven, Connecticut. We ain't smart enough in Atlanta, in Houston, in Little Rock, and Phoenix to take some of that Christmas money you hemorrhaging right now and put together an incarceration fund so we can help finance some of these men and women to come back home to their children. Half of black people in jail are guilty of nothing but being too poor to pay for their defense. It's a fact, brothers and sisters. It's an absolute fact. They intimidate those brothers into taking deals. They say, well, listen, if you say you did it, you'll be home in 3. But if you try to fight this, my brother, we're going to throw 30 at you. What you going to do? What would I do? You're going to say, go to trial because I know I'm innocent, and you think the innocence will win out over the end, but you fail to recognize that the American justice system ain't based on truth, it's based on power. And then we got black lawyers who never come together to fight to change the law because they make so much money working the law. Same thing in psychology. People ask me when I travel, why are you the only one giving us this? Because they get paid for it. You could be a millionaire as a black psychologist today. Turn the other cheek and misdiagnose black kids all day. They paying $20,000, $30,000 in evaluation now, brothers and sisters. Because that's how much money they're going to make off of hustling your child in the name of a disorder that you can't even prove. I tell you parents this, my child got an IEP. He got a reading disability. No! You got a raising disability. Ain't no such thing, learning disability. When we had ancestors who taught themselves how to read, no special ed, no public school, under the threat of death, they did that 300 years ago. Under the threat of death. And here you is with every academic, technological advice known to man, and your son can't learn how to read. Oh, he got trouble with his vowel sounds. He hung up on his consonants. But whenever he needs some damn money, he can sing it. Money, ying, 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 ying. Problem is you got lazy parents raising lazy black children. That's the problem. You love me, but a lot of black parents don't love me because I'm tired of it now. I don't even finish the eval no more. Interrupt this. Where's the mother and father at? She come in with a hair full of pink hair. His lips all purple from smoking haze all damn day. Talking about the child is learning disabled. He ain't even got no fresh oxygen in that damn house between perm and weed. Boy can't even breathe clean air. Talking about he need an IEP. What the hell wrong with y'all? Coon is the new black. You come into my office smelling like weed talking about he got a disability. And the white folks laughing to the bank because they get an extra $10,000 per child. Smack! And then I'm sitting there trying to fight for the child, but he don't want to fight for himself because he going to the NFL. Had one little boy come in my office the other day, Dr. Umar, listen! I don't even know why I'm here because I'm going pro. I said, Negro, you 2 feet tall. What, you gonna be a mud wrestler? No damn NFL gonna have you out there. Brothers and sisters, we can't sell our children false dreams of success. One of my biggest debates is whether or not I'm gonna have football or basketball at FDMG. I wrestle with it every day. I'm definitely not gonna have it the first 2-3 years, brothers and sisters, I can't. Because I'm tired of us socializing black boys to be objects of Western capitalism. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. And then when they done with you, they find everything wrong with you. When they done with you, they find, look at Russell. Damn. They just got Russell. Y'all heard about Russell Simmons? Was the sister black or white? Was the woman? She was a light-skinned black. Damn, y'all tough. Light skin still black. She said, damn, she yikes. Damn. Y'all got a light skin supremacy thing in New York I need to know about? Damn. It's all good? All right, I got you. But damn, she light skinned. Damn. You said quarter coon. Damn. But they use you, then they get rid of you. I love LeBron James. He tried to do some standing up every once in a while, but once he's no longer useful, they make something up on you. This is how they operate, brothers and sisters. See, the white man does a brilliant job of making you think he likes you when he's only interested in exploiting your labor for him. And because you build this relationship where he exploits your labor, you start confusing the ends with the means. That's what happened with Bill Cosby. Bill Cosby thought white people liked him. No, Jello. What they liked was what you could do for them. But they started intoxicating your mind into thinking you're a special one. And the minute you start thinking you special amongst white folks, they got you. Because no black person will ever, ever get an honorary Caucasian card. Never. And so once Bill Cosby started thinking they like me instead of what I do, he was already game for the kill. This is what they do with our athletes. Ezekiel Elliott, they love what you do on the field, brother. They don't like you. 6-game suspension. They even had the white girl on tape saying that she told him that they're not going to listen to you because you black. And that's an important lesson for you brothers who love to date out of the race. And then Halle Berry had her transcript the other week. Did y'all see that? Halle Berry confessed that her baby's white daddy called her the N-word. What the hell you expect? Because she thought because he was in love with them African cookies. White man has always loved the black woman's cookies. Butter almond, butter pecan, rum raisin, mocha latte, fudge, chocolate. Good God Almighty. He loved a black woman's cookies. But that don't mean he loved a black woman. And that's where you make your mistake at. You start transferring their love for what you can do for them for a true love for you. White man is only interested in what he can gain from you. Have you noticed that America has a neurotic relationship with black males? Isn't it amazing you could turn on Channel 2 and they're talking about how black men are no good, killers, robbers, welfare daddies, in and out of jail. And then you turn to Channel 4 and Michael Jordan's getting Man of the Year from the ESPYs. And then you turn to Channel 6, cop just shot another brother. Then you turn to Channel 8, so-and-so might be an MVP candidate this year. How is it that you hate them on Channel 4 and 6, but love them on Channels 2 and 8? You know how, brothers and sisters? Because the white man's loving for the black man only goes as far as his ability to exploit your labor for the benefit of his pocketbook. A brother who can't do nothing for the European, he hates him. But a brother who can do something for the European, he will act as if he likes you until he can no longer use you. And our problem as a people, we are comfortable being exploited. We are comfortable being used. And I'll tell you here and now, one of the biggest aftershocks of slavery, one of the biggest psychological traumas of slavery is it made all of us comfortable in this room. Absolutely comfortable. Having no power, no control, or no authority over our destinies. You're the only people who can go to work. You're the only people who can go to a Knicks game. You're the only people who can go to a Nets game. You're the only people who can send your child to go work for another people and not nowhere in your soul feel hurt that you have to subject them to the abuses of another. You love participation and you hate power. I said you love participation and you hate power. Why is the Chinese jumping over the African in America? Why is the East Indian jumping over the African in America? Because the East Indian is trying to build culture capital. And you simply want a seat at another man's table. The Civil Rights Bill of 1964. Do you know what we got for that? The only thing the Civil Rights Bill did was protect your right to give your money to crackers. That's it. It's a commerce bill. Public accommodations. You have a right to sit in a restaurant. You have a right to be on a Greyhound. You have a right to go to the restaurant, hotel, the movie theater. The only thing the Civil Rights Bill did was make it comfortable for white folks to take your money without you being beat up over it. What good is civil rights without human rights? What good is the right to buy a burger but not a right to breathe? What good is the right to use a white man's hotel but you ain't got the right to live if you get pulled over by a police officer? I don't want nobody's civil rights. I want the ones God gave me. Those are called human rights. And his laws would mean nothing to you if you didn't have confidence in his ability to fix his own deficits. The black man's problem and the black woman's problem in America, we are confident that white supremacy can correct itself. You ain't them. You'll never be them and they'll never be you. No two groups of people can be as diametrically opposed to one another as blacks and whites. Not because we made it that way, they made it that way. And the reason why so many of us are suffering from depression in America is because you subjecting your soul to the abuse and trauma of another culture's dysfunctionality. Some of y'all going broke right now, holiday shopping. The hell you buying video games for? He can't even spell his damn name. I ain't seen none of y'all in the bookstores. Oh no, Christmas shopping, you're forbidden to go to the bookstores. Is that it? Because if I walk in your house and I don't see a dictionary, you a coon parent. If I walk in your house and I don't see a thesaurus, you a coon parent. If I walk in your house and I don't see a complete set of encyclopedia A through Z, you cooning. And it ain't got nothing to do with your income. Because my mother bought my first set of encyclopedia from the Goodwill thrift shop at Borden Poplar Street, North Philadelphia. And I still got them. So don't tell me you got to have money. You got places that will send you books for free, but you don't make nobody read in your house. I know because I'm in there doing therapy. Every room got a TV in it, and the damn TV bigger than the wall in the room. Y'all know what I'm talking about. You got to slant the TV because it's bigger than the wall. Video games all over the place. iPads all over the place. iPhone 10s all over the place. And your child can't wait to go back to school on January 2nd. Pimped out, Gucci rag, gold tooth, Louis bag. Ain't got $1 in the bank for trust fund. Ain't got $1 in the bank for life insurance. Ain't got no money put away for the future. See, black folks don't live for the future. You live for now. Slavery gave you that. See, in slavery, you had no decision-making power over your immediate future. So a culture was created for us where you contented yourself with the here and the now. And the reason you can't catch up to the other races of humankind is because they living for their great-grandkids. And you barely living for your own children. Most of us, when we die, we leave our kids what? A couple $100,000 in debts. And black parents with these teenagers, you better think twice before you send them on to college. You better think twice because college is not the investment it was when I went. See, when I was a freshman at Millersville University in Lancaster County, Pennsylvania in 1992, a college degree still meant something a little bit. It was running out, but a little bit. And see, Dr. Umar lucked up because I was a psychology major. Because I love the mind and I love helping people solve their personal problems. I didn't know if they could make a lot of money or anything like that. But I wanted to help children put smiles on their face. So I dedicated my lives to children. The reason I want to open the school is because I can touch more minds as a principal than I ever could as a personal therapist. But brothers and sisters, I lucked up. I got lucky because you crazy. I would be out of work if you was normal. Do you know that? If it wasn't for you running your child to the psychiatrist for some so-called ADHD every day, if it wasn't for you running to the school talking about my daughter got a math disability and my son got a reading disability and my grandson is retarded and my niece is autistic, if it wasn't for you loving the labels that white people give us, because it ain't nothing but a label, parents. It ain't nothing but a label. And it hurts my heart to see so many black boys being prepared for prison in preschool because their mothers and fathers love the labels that white people give you, an excuse not to make them do better. That's why I can't wait. Because when we open up Frederick Douglass Marcus Garvey, brothers and sisters, I'm going to have a special assembly with all my slow kids. I'm going to bring them in here. If you got conduct disorder, come to the auditorium. If you got ADHD, come to the auditorium. If you have mild mental retardation, since you so damn mild, come on to the auditorium. You reading disabled? Come to the auditorium. You got a math disability? Come to the auditorium. And I'm going to tell your children in no uncertain terms that you're here because your parents think you slow. You've had an IEP for years. And I'm here to tell you that this is not a public school. This is not a charter school. This is an independent African institution. And because of that, there will be no excuses for why you fail. So if you fall behind, my brother, because you might be reading disabled. If you fall behind, my sister, because you might be math disabled. If you fall behind, my little brother, because you got ain't no daddy at home disorder, ADHD, whatever your case is, I'm going to say it again. Ain't no damn daddy at home disorder. That's all it is a lack of discipline. And some of y'all going to say, you don't know what you're talking about because my son daddy at home and he still got ADHD. Then it ain't no damn discipline at home disorder. And then you say the daddy at home and the daddy gives out discipline. Then it becomes an artificial diet due to a home dysfunction because ain't nothing in that refrigerator but caffeine and high fructose corn syrup and manufactured sugar. And then you say, it ain't even that. And then I say, there's only one more ADHD left. If it ain't none of the others, it got to be this. An attachment disruption due to a home life dysfunction. In other words, somebody being sexually abused, there's domestic abuse, daddy got locked up, mom getting beat on, but every child naturally wants to come to school and learn. And the only time they don't come to school wanting to learn is because something ain't going on right at that house or in that classroom. See, the only thing a child needs to make it is a teacher or a parent that cares. They only need one. They only need one. They need a teacher or a parent. If they got both, they're in a good position. But you want to know what's the worst thing for a black child in Queens? The worst thing for a black child in Brooklyn and the Bronx and in Harlem and Long Island and Staten is to have a teacher who don't care and a parent who couldn't care less. And that's what most of our kids got. So I'm going to tell your children in that special auditorium session for slow learners that in this school, you will achieve as well as everybody else. And if you don't, you will have a special school on Saturday and Sunday. See, your slow ass going to come in on Saturday from 8 in the morning to 8 at night. We're going to give you breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And then you're going to come back on Sunday. You go to school every day until those letters start making sense to you. You're going to go to school every day till them numbers start working in that brain. Oh, yes. You don't know how to sit still? You ain't have your pills today. No Concerta this afternoon. No Adderall this morning. No Cyclert last evening. Well, guess what? You will sit with me for 8 hours staring at the wall till your ass can't move no more. I said all of you will heal your own disabilities without no IEP. How much you want to bet I will have no special ed kids after 2 damn weeks at the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy? Brothers and sisters, Barack Obama, and I'm not going to castigate your hero because I know you love him to death. Good God Almighty, he's like Jesus Jr. to some of you. I'm only going to say one thing that you can meditate on with him. When he became president of the United States, for 43 previous presidents, you were the priority minority. No other non-white group got more attention than you, even if it was just to mess with you. You were still the priority minority. Until they gave you a black president, black people are no longer the priority minority. Have you noticed these specials on CNN where they talk about being a minority in America with no black people in the show? Oh, yeah. That's our fault. Because you don't understand politics. Politics ain't got nothing to do with your emotions. And the problem with black folks is you don't vote for people unless you like them. And that's a big problem for us. You have to stop voting for people just because you have a personal connection. And you can't reject a person just because you know they're racist. Everything is decided upon based on its actual measured benefit for black folks. If I got to put a racist in office in order for that racist to deliver one thing that I know the black candidate cannot deliver. And why do I know the black candidate cannot deliver? Because the black candidate was put in office on white money. See, you need to know why your black elected officials, not all of them, because we do got exceptions like Brother Charles Barron. We got exceptions. But the reason why most black politicians are no good to black folks here, there, and everywhere is because we let white folks finance their campaign. If I'm running for mayor of New York City, I don't care how hotep I am. My name could be Ganeb Ra Sekemet Kanoum Dashiki. And it don't mean a damn thing if all the money that I use to run came from a European. Because guess who's bidding I'm going to do when I get elected? And then we want to call them sellouts. No, you was the sellout, because if you had any sense, you would have never ran them without putting your money behind them. See, you fail to realize something. Voting is not the most important thing in politics. Financing is. And until you start financing, we will get nowhere. And I ain't talking about no black parties. Now, in places where we dominate, we can have a black party because we are in the majority. But I ain't looking for no black party in a place where we are in the minority, because a black party ain't going to beat no white party, because you need white votes. And there's not a white person on earth who's going to ever vote in black equality. Oh, yes. You don't understand. Equality is a sin in white culture. Dr. King got his brains blown out for preaching equality, not supremacy. He didn't say black supremacy. He said equality, but as far as they concerned, blacks' equality is supremacy. Why? Because whenever you give black people an equal playing field with white folks, sooner or later, we're going to win out anyway. They regret the day they gave Tiger Woods a golf club. They regret the day they gave Serena that tennis racket. And speaking of Serena, I am in mourning this week because that beautiful chocolate act of God gave that body to a cracker. And she just had his baby. And I'm hurting for my sister because I know she only married the man so she could get a baby that looks white, because she's been talked about so much being a tennis player. And I'm not going to knock my sister, because if you read some of the things they had to say about her, they called her monkeys in her face. They would spit at her, say, are you a woman or are you a man? It was in the newspapers, brothers and sisters, and the white folks wouldn't even be kicked out at a tennis match. Our sister was racially traumatized. And she heard it so much that it sunk into her unconscious. And the only way she feels she could rescue any of her beauty was to have a baby by a white man. And I just pray to God that that white man don't cheat on her with a white woman, because that's the only thing it's going to take to crush our sister's heart. But somebody send Serena a memo for me and let her know Dr. Umar said he ain't married yet. And if the cracker cheat, let him go and come on home to me. Lord have mercy. I'll treat you right. First thing I'm going to do is cut that blonde weave off because it don't look right. I want that nappy head. I want to learn how to do tennis just like you. Bounce! Brothers and sisters, as I prepare to wrap up, who the youngest person in the audience right now, baby-wise? I see. How old is that beautiful baby right there? Just made 2 months. Oh, man, give him a hand. That's a little boy, little African male. Well, guess what, brothers and sisters? The reason Dr. Umar ain't got no hoodies and T-shirts for y'all today is because UPS in New York City, I'm learning, just don't work right. And so I shipped all my hoodies and T-shirts and FDMG pillows over a week ago. And I got to my hotel last night and it wasn't there. And I called UPS and said, yo, I shipped this over a week ago. What's up? Holiday volume. So they not here. But I did happen to bring one pillow, and this is a gift to the youngest baby in the room. If somebody can give this to the mother down there for me, please. One day I hope to see him at the Frederick Douglass and Marcus Garvey Academy, brothers and sisters, yes. So as I prepare, y'all know 3 years ago we started a fundraiser, right? Open up a school for boys. I had no idea that I would get the support that I got, and I'm thankful for all of you who supported the fundraiser. Nor did I have any idea that I would get some of the traction that I got from jealous, envious Negroes in the conscious community who were mad because y'all put more faith in me than you did in some of them. And so it's been 3 long, hard-fought years. And I want to thank all of you who stood by me, brothers and sisters, because we very close to a school right now. We very close to a school. See, I'm a Leo like the Honorable Marcus Garvey. We are worker bees, brothers and sisters. As much as I love to stand up here and entertain and educate and motivate and invigorate and inspire, at the end of the day, I know that my contribution to the people must be something tangible and measurable, brothers and sisters. I know that. So I cannot content myself on being a good speaker. I can't content myself on being a psychologist. I can't content myself on being an author. As a Garveyite, as a revolutionary Pan-African nationalist, we only content ourselves on 2 things. What have you changed to make tomorrow better than today? And what institutions have you left behind for children who are not even born yet? And brothers and sisters, let me be clear. When we get FDMG, whether it be in Detroit or Atlanta or Delaware or Chicago or Raleigh, North Carolina, those are the sites right now. Wherever we get it at, the school is just the beginning, brothers and sisters. The ancestors gave me too much in his tank. Educating the kids, that's good enough, but I got more than that to go. We got Africa on the other side of that ocean right there saying, Doc, link us up. I was on the radio the day before yesterday with Zambia. The brothers and sisters in Zambia said, Doc, get on this radio. So we're trying to put together an international Pan-African youth conference, and I need y'all to be there. And guess what, y'all? It may not be in the United States. Sometimes we got to get off our behinds, the brothers and sisters, where they at. It might got to be in Paris. It might got to be in the UK. It might got to be in Australia. It might got to be in Jamaica. Some of y'all go there all the time anyway, partying. But brothers, this is our time now. We were at the Nat Turner land 11/11. I know Nat Turner died 11/11. That's when they killed our brother. And I'm sitting there the whole time asking myself, what contribution can I give? Where am I falling short? Ancestor, what can I? You got to do the same thing. Because I don't think we get out of this unless we all re-solidify our spiritual foundation. Because we hypocrites right now. There's no way you can tell me you believe in God and Jesus and doing the Lord's work, and then right after you pray on Sunday, you go down to the white man's department store and gamble all your hard-earned money. You can't convince me of that, brothers and sisters. There's a disconnect. Christianity and capitalism are not homogenous. It's not homogenous. You can't let your or Jesus or God be manipulated by your oppressor into an end-of-the-year payday for him. And every time you shop, do you know what you do? You re-empower your oppressor to marginalize you. So you go shopping. They pay taxes on your shopping. Those taxes go to the city of New York. They hire white cops down and kill black folks. You are investing in police genocide while claiming to be against it. Lives matter, black dollars got to matter too. You go shopping. They take that money and put it in a white bank. That white bank invests in white developers to go into the middle of Harlem and gentrify you out. Into Brooklyn and gentrify you out of it. Into the middle of Queens and put you out of your own neighborhood. And they did it with your own Christmas money. How can you be against neighborhood ethnic cleansing while you financing it? We have too many contradictions we got to deal with. Yes, we do. Black woman, you cannot go to the club and shake that thing to the horrible, despicable, demeaning words, and then come out head wrap on and say, thou shalt respect me. That's a contradiction. Black can't say, I love African life, and I want to fight for African life, and I love my people, and but I help fall with a white. That's a contradiction. And I still got beating me breakfast with you last summer. I'm still getting emails. How dare you tell me I can't be down for black folks? This is what they telling me. I can't help who I fall in love with. That's a lie. I never fell in love with a white woman. I've been around her my whole life. They was all up. They was there. They was at Lehigh University up in Bethlehem, PA, up in them damn mountains. They was up there. They was at the Philadelphia College of Osteopathy when I was, yeah. First interest in me too, but I know how the game go. See, the game go, if you can't get a white man with the same accolades, get a coon. This is how it operates. Because white men of prestige don't marry down in social class. Yes! He's only from a socio-economic status. He ain't going to go into a white project and go get Betty Saunders with 2 front teeth missing. A hillbilly from the western portion of West Virginia. He ain't gonna do that. White man gonna marry a black male with a legacy of self-hatred and valuing everything white and despising everything black was a token to his future. I just saw Jones got engaged to a white man. Not what I saw. Maybe I got the wrong sister. I think it's her. So many facelifts going on. And black woman, don't you get no facelift because they messing y'all up on purpose. They messing y'all. You don't need none of that. Don't get no tummy tuck or none of that. It's not healthy. You got black women dying from medical mistakes, plastic surgery, getting all. Got sisters like wuzzles, big eyes, big lips, big nose. You can barely breathe because the top lip all up in your nose. Brothers and sisters, year 2018, we got to focus on education and economics. It hurts my heart that last year we spent $2 billion on Air Jordans and $4 billion on alcohol. It hurts my heart that we spent perm black woman trajectory. It bothers me that we bought twice the Mercedes-Benzes as white folk with only half or less of the. And they're saying today that you're going to surpass your mark from last year. You know what's so sad? It only takes $250,000 to start a credit union. You can start a credit union with $250,000. Y'all spend that in Queens probably every 5 hours. A city as big as New York, you are the largest black metropolis in the country. Chicago, number 2, but they are far number 2. Chicago. Y'all got to get it together. Preaching black business if you ain't preaching black banks. If everyone own business, white folks still win because we're putting our money where? In a white bank. So he got all the black business. Then he got we need the banks. And the we ain't got some of these banks. And I think we got a black one in New York, don't we? No more? Freedom National. Barbara Jeffries. Sir. Managed by blacks, owned by whites. We got to do the bank, family. And banks is a little difficult, so start with the saving and loan. Credit union, we can do that. See, the new racism is all economic now. See, what they do is they make sure black do. So I need $2 million for FDMG. They're not going to give me that line of credit. They cannot empower black people. I don't understand. If there's what you found a Rick football and the basketball and the actors and the entertainers, they're not empowering them either. You know what they do with them? They give them a lot of money. And then they will drop Oprah Winfrey, the middle sea of white folks. They will LeBron James. They will drop Ezekiel Elliott in the middle of a sea of. So it looks, but there's only one problem. I got a white lawyer who's getting some of that money. I got a white publicist who's watching what I do with that money. I got a white realtor that I'm buying my houses from. White schools. I go to vacation with the white travel agent. It looks like I'm the owner of the $2 billion. I'm only the redistributor. You asking me why ain't none of those rich blacks wrote you a check? Them niggas. Yeah, they come to my speeches. Yeah, all of them do. 5-time Grammy. Yeah, they come because they want to get their Umar stripes. So they come to say, yeah, I was. Yeah, I mean, we busted up, took a pic. They tweet me all. But no damn check. If they want to give me a check, the lawyer gonna see it, accountant gonna see it, publicist gonna see it, manager gonna see it. Not good for, because I'm unapologetic. See, one day I got to die, one day you got to die. And I'm gonna start. You got to die with your integrity. If it's perfect, I'm to our liberation. That's what it got to be about. Baba Jeffries and Mama Jeffries, what, 50? Give them a hand. Yes, good. Black Lives Matters. We got to get married. Because some of these sisters are violent. So you take your time, because some of these brothers are violent. Speaking of violence, the brother who started the Golden Crust Caribbean, his restaurant. You don't believe it? It's a possibility that it was an assassination. I do believe that. It's over 9 states, the largest Caribbean chain. I believe it. Let me consider the. Let's say not that he committed suicide for us, and it tends to spike around the holidays. Because for a lot of our people, it'll be the first Christmas without that child who got killed by the cops. It's New Year. So I'm asking all of you here to reach out to somebody alone. Whether you celebrate it or not, we don't celebrate this crap, but we know we're going to these next couple weeks. One of the biggest things we lost, when we came from the South up to the metropolitan North was our hospitality. Gotten so bad, have you learned that our young people speak to You be walking down the street, what up, young brother? Do I know you? Damn! You got to know me to say hi. Speak to you. But I'm bothering me because of hurt. We all hurting. That, brothers and sisters, hopelessness, despair, and loss. Not to mention that undercover alcoholism we got going on. Go and present to a group of brothers and sisters at a recovery home. Addiction, alcohol addiction, the whole nine. And I tell them, the only reason why y'all in this addiction place, made up your mind in the substance. You're nothing to do with it. You're still addicted because you're determined smoking than you do by quitting. You got this thing where you got to quit smoking 4 times before you stop. That's before you stop. You got to break up with that abuse before you 3, 5, 8 times to stop quitting. Nothing! It takes 3, 5, and 8 times for you to make up. You'll never get out of this addiction clinic unless you more into being free than in being an. Because there's feelings associated with getting high. How you feel when you smoke? You know how good you feel? Well, guess what? You got to substitute something productive in health. It's concentrated in the addiction. Freedom will never get your attention. The white man don't want our people to stop smoking. Black failure. If I'm getting paid backwards, the money is in the failure. Brothers and sisters, Black Boy and Girl College Tour coming up this summer. Even the ones who in the middle. Making fun. Got this new stage in sexual identity called supposed to step in and grab them and say, "Yeah, man." So we're going to stay in Newark, New Jersey. Malcolm breathed his last, the greatest Pan-Africanist. Go to Ferncliff Cemetery and pour libation at the graves of Dr. Abdul Muhammad. And then we're going to take them on New York so they. And then we're going to take them on over to Rochester at the grave. And then we're going to take them on down into Philadelphia and visit down to the Liberty Bell so they can understand why that damn bell over. And then I'm going to take them to Independence Mall where those slave-owning Caucasians drafted the Constitution while they used to whip blacks. And then we're going to take them to Cheney University. Our higher learning folks are sabotaging it. They wanted to shut down. That's the new thing. They want all the HBCUs to get taken. University, we're going to go to Lincoln. To Dell State. And then we're going to go to State in the Black Mecca, Howard. And then we're going to go to Benjamin Banneker's hometown. One up. And then we go to Andorney Park. so they can understand that there's more to all in Popeyes. And then we're going to go down to Virginia State. In Virginia, and then we're going to go to a place where a black preacher on my verse 1831 to rise up against his oppressors. And they're going to go to the Turner Trail. Elder Khalifa, he's there, y'all. Make sure Douglas was for Harriet Tubman. You got to study your Nat Turner Trail, the church where Nat. They're going to go to the courthouse where Nat Turner was incarcerated. Latest news. A black politician up in Gary, Indiana, turned it back to his land of his birth for the sisters. And in the evening at the hotel, transmitted diseases. Or not. Them children will twerk it out. So we got the herpes in the black community. Because our young people are into this. So I about that. I'm going to talk to them about this, who don't really like you or step. It's only 14. Work with our young people. I got the 17-year-old boy. Weeks of intellectual insurrection. We're going back to Africa again. This year looks the last week of July. All the information for New Year's payments. Money and child support, you can't get. But make sure off the whole year before. Right at the pyramid. To the Great Pyramids. Brothers and sisters, don't. I don't know black parent issue from every time. Penny, buy me before you go to that. Welfare. And we need every black and the rest. Children in the morning in your pajamas. I'm unemployed. Number two, special. Mother, you give them, I don't do it, I want and you to do, black woman. Never let don't wear rings because you tell him he's a long distance. And black woman don't ever go. If your baby daddy more baby has home. You need an alpha male. Go get Tay-Tay. And you bring Rob. The only time I want you to yes. And then this here. Is afraid of as I Booker T. Washington to Hampton, Florida. Tuskegee. Living on their own. To Tuskegee. Make sure Booker T, you stuff to sleeves. Instead Iggy. God! In a serve. There's no you are today and for all times. Black Power, New York City. One love.